everybody, this is Kohdok here, and as I mentioned in my Mari starter pack set, I did mention that a fan of mine named King Vire gave me a Storm starter deck, so I might actually be able to finally do some gameplay footage now. So the Storm starter deck, it is pretty much the same as the Tech starter deck. It also has the box, the token, the playmat, the rules, and all that. If you want to see all that stuff, you can take a look at my tech unboxing. We're just going to get into the goods here with the Storm starter deck, starting with the hero Malia. Now, Malia is a storm hero. She has lightning, water, and wind, which are the three storm elements. She has wind as superior, 30 health, and the ability increase damage from your combos by 1. Now, I know that doesn't sound like much, but Malia actually has the potential to be very good. She is a more specialized hero. She's not like the previous one where it was draw 2 cards and then have a penalty. Instead, it is a lot more specifically about combos. What kinds of combos, I'll show you in a minute, but the Wind Superior also ties into her very combo-centric nature, as I've kind of figured out that each element has an attack stat, a defense stat, and a support stat, and the differences between the orders are how those manifest. So, Malia having Wind as the support ability, support is mostly going to be combo support in Storm, so it makes perfect sense that that's her superior ability. So I'm going to put Malia on the back burner here so we can see just how she works with the deck. Now, up next we have the combos. We have Tornado. It is a 4-cost, 2 wind, 1 lightning, 1 water, 10 damage. Move 4 of your discarded action cards to your deck. So what it does is it helps replenish your deck a little bit, and it does some damage. 4 is a bit of a heavy cost, and it doesn't really take full advantage of Malia's ability. That and in my opinion, every deck should have a 4-cost combo, because what these 4-cost combos do is they allow you to pay for other combos. So ideally, your 4-cost combo can pay for every other combo in your deck, because it gets shuffled back in and you can use it again. I mean, it would be a dream if you could play it, like if your Swooping Corvid goes off perfectly. I'll talk about Swooping Corvid in a minute. But out of the ones I've gotten so far, Tornado is maybe not the best. Being able to shuffle cards into your deck is nice. It would be better if you could return them to your hand. But there's some cards that let me do that. Not the best combo. I've seen others for Malia. I think there's one called Rolling Thunder, which is, I'll show you in a minute. Up next, we have the worst combo in the game, Murky Waters. For 2 water, you do 7 damage, plus 5 more if the opponent has more than 20 health. This is a bad card, because it means you can do maximum 12 damage, but in order to do that, or 13 under Malia's hand, but in order to do that, the opponent would have to be at above 20 health, so you cannot use this move as a finisher. It is a very, very poor finisher. There is another one that is it's a 3-cost ability that just does the flat 12 damage. Murky Waters, not a very good card. Moving on. Here we have Thunderstorm, and this is the combo that reveals Malia's true power, because what Thunderstorm does, it is a combo buff that stays in play for 3 turns, and each turn it does 4 damage. But Malia's ability increases damage from combos by 5, so Malia makes this combo do an extra tick of damage every single time it turns, so that actually becomes a net 3 additional damage. It's cards like Lightning Storm that really bring Malia to life, because it's 12 damage over some time for 2, that's pretty good. 15 for 2 is absolutely amazing, so Malia can definitely use Lightning Storm to the fullest. If you're going to build a Malia deck, you want to have Lightning Storm in it. Up next is Cleansing Wind. 9 damage. The recipient moves all action cards of an element of your choosing from their hand to the deck. Sorry if I sound a bit off. I'm a little bit sick. 2 wind, 1 lightning. This one requires a little bit of guesswork on your part. 9 damage is okay. Well, it's not very good for 3. It's interesting if you're looking for like buff and hand control, and there actually is a buff denial strategy that Storm can use. There's actually a character named Elishi who is specialized similar to Malia, in that she has an ability that pings for 2 damage if the opponent has no buffs. So it's slightly better than a lot of these heroes who just kind of ping for 1, but it revolves around that strategy. And finally, Stormwall, aka the make enemies of everybody at the table card. Stormwall, it is another one that does damage on the tick, and of course Malia boosts that up. 1 of each element for a card that also has the effect of you cannot be attacked. And to my understanding, that means people cannot use attack abilities or attack cards against you. You can still be affected by things like buffs or defense cards, but still a very good ability. There's one turn where it doesn't work, but otherwise the way you're going to be doing damage and repelling attacks. And it has a multiplayer effect, which means that if you have several opponents, it does this damage to all of them, although it's decreased by 1, but brought back up by 1 again by Malia, which is why I call it the make enemies of everyone at the table card. And now, Swooping Corvid, a card I mentioned before. What Swooping Corvid does is it is a buff. It is a wind buff, so Malia can play up to 2 of them per turn. And what Swooping Corvid does is nothing for 2 turns, but then on the 3rd turn, it reduces your combo cost by 3. Now, that means you pay that many fewer cards in order, or that many fewer symbols, I guess, in order to play a combo. So this is a card that's good to set up your 4 combo if you manage to get it out. You can even just use it as mind games because your opponent sees that coming. They might try to wipe out this buff, and that means that they have spent time wiping out this buff rather than saving it for the combo buff you're about to play. So Swooping Corvid, good card, comes 1 in the deck. I think it might be one of the unique cards, which is kind of their way of trying to get you to buy more copies of the Storm starter deck. I haven't seen it pulled yet. I'll have to take a look. Up next is Storm Whisperer. Increased damage and healing from combos by 2. So just like with Malia's ability, that makes Lightning Storm even more dangerous. And there are healing abilities that also do the same thing, in that they do it over several ticks. So Storm Whisperer, any kind of combo deck that you want to make, Storm Whisperer is definitely going to be a staple. It is another wind card. It is another one that comes 1 per deck. I don't know if it's a deck exclusive or not. I've heard some people have pulled them from booster packs, but staple card. Dust Fiend, another wind card, 4 damage. This card can count as any element when used for a combo. And when they say any element, they mean any element. This is an amazing card. There are actually combos that require you to cross orders. They're really cheap, but you have to cross them over. But Dust Fiend works with any attribute. So it can be any of the ones in your deck, but it could also do things like you could play Dread cards with it, or play time cards with it. I mean, your character has to have the ability to play that element, so you could do that with some items or stuff like that. But Dust Fiend, if you're going to be making a multicolor deck, I think Dust Fiend is going to be a staple. Storm is probably going to be the best at multicolored decks just because of Dust Fiend. And one thing, if there is an order or an element that I would splash into Storm, it would probably be time, because it would allow you to rewind and recycle a lot of those buffs and combo buffs to just keep doing the damage over and over. So if we see some good time items that come out, Dust Fiend is definitely going to be a 3 of in any combo deck. Heck, it's a 3 of in this deck. 4 damage is pretty good. That's just 1 less than Spark Wisp, which I've shown off before. And good card. Comes 1 per deck. I think this actually comes in the intro pack as well, so it's not too hard to find. Next, Cloud Harvester. Okay, this is an uncommon. You can tell by the blue text. Rare cards have orange text, uncommons have blue text, and commons have white text, just getting that out of the way. They have kind of all of the wind cards being played right now. Cloud Harvester, it has a couple of interesting abilities. One is it does some passive damage. It does 1 damage to the opponent based on the corner it's on, but its final corner, it allows you to return up to 2 action cards from your discard pile to your hand. That is way better than Tornado, because it actually brings it back to your hand and increases your hand size. And a lot of the best combos, especially for Malia, rely on having lots of electric power. So Cloud Harvester is a very, very good card. They only include 1 in the deck, but I'd say it's easily a good 2 of in any deck. Uncommon, pretty easy to find. Like I said, the damage isn't really what matters. It's that returning the lightning cards to your hand. And it's action cards. An action card is basically any non-combo card. So still very, very useful. There are lots of good electric cards, attack cards. I think Therapeutic Eel is electric. Up next we have Thunder Slug, which is our first 2 of. Thunder Slug has the effect Burn. I finally know what Burn means. Burn means that when it hits your discard pile, it cannot be retrieved from your discard pile. It is essentially removed from the game for those purposes. And it says you may remove current turn of buffs from another hero. And it is a buff card rather than an attack card. So for something like Stormwall, this thing would actually bypass Stormwall with its effect. And it says you may remove buffs from another hero. So that means you don't have to accidentally remove your own buffs. And it says you may, so I guess that means it can be any amount up to the number of turn. Very, very good card. It is a little bit vulnerable. There are some cards that prevent buffs from being played, and that can affect Thunder Slug a little bit, but still, good card, easily a 2 of. Dancing Flutterer. In hindsight, I'm thinking Dancing Flutterer maybe isn't that good. It does up to 6 damage against an opponent that still has more than 20 health. It suffers the same problem as Murky Waters in that it's you can't use it as a finisher, at least not as well as Dust Spirit. I would run more Dust Spirits over Dancing Flutterer. It's okay in an early game, but late game, it is practically useless. Hurricane Spirit. This is a really good 2-of. It is another one that, like Swooping Corvid, takes 2 turns to charge up, but once it gets to its final corner, you see how that's kind of oblong there? That means it doesn't actually rotate based on your turn. Instead, it just stays there until its ability is activated, and you can use it as an attack ability to force your opponent to shuffle 2 cards into their deck, and you draw 3 cards. Very, very good ability. It takes 2 turns to get ready, but it is worth the wait, and it is another one of your cards that you can use as a mind game because your opponent doesn't want to have to eat that ability, so they have to decide whether they want you to have Hurricane Spirit or have a combo buff. This is another thing that can be used to draw out an opponent's buff removers. Guard Snail, rare, buff, turn healing, takes 4 turns to heal you for 9, terrible card. Suspicious Squid, discard the top 2 cards from your enemy's deck when you play a combo. So I haven't really seen anything in this deck that indicates a sort of mill strategy. If a mill strategy for Storm does exist or ever comes out, this is definitely going to be a key card in it, but otherwise not as good as a lot of the other passive buff cards like Storm Whisperer. There's another one that's a beetle that does 2 damage and lets you retrieve 2 cards when you play a combo. This is easily the weakest one. Impressed Sludgefin, 3 damage, heal yourself for 5 if the last discarded card is a combo card. So this is a very situational card. I would not say it is a good card because it relies on what you have in your discard pile. Situational cards like this, kind of like with the Flutterer, it's kind of terrible. I wouldn't recommend it. Good thing there's only 1 in there. Vitalizing Frog, another good 2-of, defense, water type, 6 healing. Just straight up 6 healing. Very, very good card. Easily a 2-of in any deck. Straight up 6 healing. A lot of the cards that just do the reliable straight up effects are way better than a lot of these situational cards, unless you're like guaranteed to make that situation trigger continuously. Vitalizing Frog, just a flat up 6 healing, that is 1 less than the one from the Storm deck, which does 7 healing if you're below 15. Although that's actually a really good clutch card because it gives you extra healing when you're in trouble. But the flat up 6 healing, this is really good. Like I said, good standard 2-of in any deck. Bubblefish, easily one of the best cards in the game, best card in Storm, 3-of easily, although they only include 2 in the deck. They don't include a 3-of anything in the Storm deck. Bubblefish is reduced damage by turn, and what that does is that's damage received from, I believe this affects each individual source, and so much of the damage in this game, like with Cloud Harvester, is a ton of little pings of 1 damage or 2 damage, like Korra's ability is 1 damage whenever you heal for 3, and this thing just takes the slack off of so much of that, and I believe it also affects damage that you would otherwise inflict on yourself, so that Ramparts card would actually prevent you from taking damage from things like what is it, the Overwhelming Blast, which deals 2 damage to you, would be blocked by Ramparts. There's a card called Therapeutic Eel, take 3 damage, draw 3 cards. The second and third corner of Bubblefish would probably stop that. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but really good card, easily a 3-of. Lightning Bringer, not a very good card. It takes 4 turns to get ready and does turn damage, rare buff for some reason. 5 damage after 4 turns, 10 if the opponent has no buffs. This is one of the no buff strategy cards that I was talking about before. That would work with Elishi. There are several cards that center on buff denial. There's one that does 6 damage if the opponent currently has no buffs in play. So that's one of those ones where I talked about where if you can continuously generate that situation, then that would work. You just need a lot of buff removal, I guess. Otherwise, not a very impressive card. It summons an attack buddy for you, which is kind of nice. Oh, I didn't mention Malia. Malia's in-game ability is increases the damage of combos by 50%. And if you get several combos like you get from buying this deck, and you can start chaining them together, Malia is a very, very good card to use. Storm Shaman, 2-of. Takes 1 turn to warm up, but then increases damage done to other heroes by turn. And I assume in multiplayer games that affects everybody. So this is another way to either make a lot of enemies or make a lot of friends if it means that the added damage can help you take out an opponent. This includes things like combos that you might have in play. So if you play a combo the same turn as Storm Shaman turns, then that's really good. If you want to lob to attacks. Storm Shaman is really good if you want to use the Aqua Dart Crab. Aqua Dart Crab's damage can be modified, so under Storm Shaman, its damage becomes 6, and you can use it twice because it is an item. Storm Shaman, it's a little bit situational. It can be kind of hard to set up and go off correctly, but the rewards are worth it. Easily a good 2 of. Spark Wisp, another good 3 of. Just lightning, attack, 5 damage. Really straightforward, really easy to use, very, very user-friendly, helps pay for some of the electric cost. Easily a good 3 of. Crackling Beast, not a good card. 3 damage, you may remove one of your buffs to increase this by 3. I guess this might work in the case of cards like Cloud Harvester, as once they do their effect, they're basically done, but otherwise it's a situation that you have to generate, and that is not going to happen very often unless you have like a strategy that involves a bunch of dead buffs. So, cute artwork, not a very good card. Umbron Informant. Umbron Informant is an amazing card. Draw cards until you have as many cards in your hand as your enemy. In the Pokemon trading card game, there are a few cards that do this as well. It's very nice when you burn out your hand and then you play this on an empty hand and draw up to what your opponent has, which could be like, I think I've drawn up to 5 or 6 using this card. That's one thing I really like about this game is the generics are not just inferior versions of the cards. The generics are all also very, very good cards with the penalty that they cannot be used to pay for combos. Otherwise, Umbron Informant, very good card on any tribe that doesn't have very good card flow, or any deck that doesn't have very good card flow. Like Malia here doesn't have the draw 2 and then have a penalty ability of ones like Zuna. Umbron Informant, very, very good card. Easily going to see a lot of use. Umbron Marauder, 2 of. Deals 6 damage to the hero with the most health. So, another card that's situational, maybe not very good. I would rather run Spark Wisp over this. It's generic too, so it doesn't really pay for anything. Situational, and you might accidentally hurt yourself with it. Bad card. Umbron Thief. Umbron Thief. 4 damage. If the recipient has more health than you after the damage is dealt, you heal for 3. This is a very, very good card. Especially in decks that might be a little short on healing. It's 4 damage, which is respectable, and it might heal you for 3. There is also Heroic Starfish, which does 3 damage and heals for 3. That has a guarantee, but Umbron Thief is still also definitely a good thing to consider. In the card game, in the video game, it is a staple card because what this thing does is it drops treasure chests, and those treasure chests can contain spirit stones, of which you need plenty, and it drops dungeon keys. So this starter deck comes with 2 of them. Very, very good card to have. So that's all in the Storm deck. There are a lot of very good cards that you can use along with Storm. There are some good combos that go with Mahlia. There are some good cards that like Therapeutic Eel. It's an okay deck. It's good to start off with. You get Malia, who is a staple for the combo deck. That is something I don't think you get in the intro pack. In the intro pack, you get basic common trash heroes. So the advantage of the starter deck is that you get the good hero and some of the good cards. I think the intro pack comes with Dust Fiend though. So if you can get your hands on a Malia, then you only really need one of these Storm starter decks. So I've been experimenting with this deck a little bit. I've created what I think is a pretty good Malia deck, and if we're lucky, my fan who gave this to me, King Vire, because it's King and then Electivire, will hopefully help me demonstrate what this deck can do. So until then, this is the Storm starter deck. Please be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to make sure you don't miss a single episode, and this is Kohdok signing off.